All right, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. We see that there's some streaming going on different places, so we want to welcome you this morning. It's raining in good old North Carolina, so still have people filing in. As you can see, but we want to welcome you to the 2023 Youth Leadership Conference. So for everybody who is attending, we want to say thank you, welcome. We had a huge uptick in registrations for the event, so we just expect for people to file in. As they file in, either way, the stream's being recorded. It'll be accessed where you can go to the Live from the Resource Center TV on YouTube and watch it. You can go back to I Am Dope and the Clergy for Cures Facebook pages, watch them as well as the I Am Dope YouTube and watch. So we have a ton of talent that's going to be speaking to everybody today. And we're going to introduce the first one here in just a moment. We have esteemed speaker Harry Reeves. They'll be starting today. For the D.O.P.E Senior Leadership Academy.
So good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning. And before we bring on Brother Harry Reeves to get everything open and started, just want to say thank you to all who have jumped on. I know we still got some filing in on the social media platforms and joining us. And thank you for all that's in the Zoom and our panelists. Just a brief introduction. Those that may not know, I am Benjamin Free. I am the co-founder, vice president of Clergy for Cures, which I don't like to use the word nonprofit. I like to use for-purpose organization, where myself, along with the good pastor, Reverend Tanya Reeves, we co-founded in 2021. And we organized it just to kind of be a solution to some problems. You know, a lot of times we put Band-Aids on a lot of the social issues around us and never address the wounds. So therefore, we decided in the midst of everything that was going on with the murder of George Floyd and other social unrest, we decided to organize together and bring folks together to address some of the wounds of these social ills. And so we're doing that work and trying to continue to address those issues in society. So you can go to the Clergy 4cures.org page and just check out some of the things we're doing. But in that, as an offshoot, in honor of my late father, Kenneth A. Free Sr., we started the Kenneth A. Free Senior Leadership Academy, where we're trying to work with young men, some may label at risk, but just in those skills of leadership development, to prepare them to be the future, to lead and be contributors to their community. So that being said, I'm just thankful to be here. Looks like we're ready to get rolling. I'm getting the nod. I heard the Academy Award music saying that I'm running out of time. So let me introduce our first presenter this morning, Brother Harry Reeves, who was born in Greensboro, North Carolina, graduated from the Walter Hines Page High School, where he was an athlete and received a basketball scholarship to Francis Marion University, where he graduated with a BS in biology. And after graduating, He had a professional basketball career overseas for about 6 years, where he played in Canada, Spain, Portugal, Holland, Mexico, South Korea, and Qatar. Get the money. Where he assumed a leadership role on each team. After playing professionally, Harry became a store manager, where he excelled in the retail industry for 9 years. And while doing that, he obtained a master's degree in healthcare administration and accepted an invitation to the Alpha Beta Kappa Honor Society with a 3.5 GPA. And then in 2015, he began his career in the financial services industry with Mass Mutual. And the financial knowledge that he learned from the leadership at the local office was always something he wanted to know during his days as a professional basketball player. So entering the arena as a federal benefits counselor in 2016, Harry continues to share this financial knowledge to assist each of his clients. And his clients range from professional doctors to lawyers and various small business owners to nurses and social workers. All right, he's even beginning to work with some professional athletes. So Harry is licensed to work in North Carolina, Florida, Tennessee, South Carolina, Virginia, Maryland, DC, Delaware, Georgia, and Oklahoma, just to name a few places. And he is the proud father of 2 wonderful children. His son, Jonathan, attends High Point University, and his daughter, Catherine, is an aspiring athlete at High Point Christian Academy. And he is married to the lovely Reverend Tanya Reeves. So without further ado, I want to welcome Brother Harry Reeves, the CEO, owner, founder of A Better Life Financial at this time. What's happening, Brother Harry? Thank you. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, bro. How's everybody doing? Hope everyone's doing well.
We all right.
So what I wanted to talk about, how to navigate a successful career and the importance of ambition and perseverance. People don't achieve those goals because they don't have a realistic timeline. So, navigating from Page High School to Francis Marion University and aspiring to excel there on that level, I had to set goals, personal goals for myself. Keeping my grades was an importance, and also excelling in what I did. And so, even though I went to a D2 school, I did have interest from professional levels. So I was able to excel on that level. I had some interest from some NBA teams. Life happens. It took a couple of turns. And so I went into the retail management space, like being mentioned, and I had to set goals there. So I had to change my focus from what I learned as being an athlete, a successful athlete, into the business world. And so, after about 8 months, they promoted me to store manager, and I excelled in that area. So I had to just change my focus, right? So I just didn't have a goal. I had to have put some steps in place in order to achieve that goal. And so I achieved that goal, but not only that, I was a training store manager. So I was one of the youngest store managers for the company, and I became a training store manager. And once I excelled in that, I wanted to go a little bit further, which sparked me to get my MBA. And I got that while I was working retail, which was hard, but I had to stay true to my goals, right? The steps that I had to put in place. And even going into finances, sometimes life takes a turn. I had a internship with Cone Health System, which abruptly ended 3 months after it started. Internship was 5 of us. We were supposed to have a year, and we all only had 3 months. But that didn't deter me from what I was trying to do. Opportunity was presented to go into financial services, which was something I always wanted to know as a professional athlete. And once I got a hold in that industry and understood basically what it meant, I wanted to take a little bit further. So now learning the steps in that arena enabled me to be successful, but I wanted to take a step further, right? So I wanted to keep persevering in that arena, especially with finances. I think we're in better times now than we were before, but a lot of people, they start to hear stories nowadays in this age of information. Black Wall Street was because of finances, right? And so it enabled our community when things were not integrated, enabled our community to build those resources. It was all because of finances. It was all Black Wall Street. Even here in Durham, we got North Carolina Mutual building still stands. That was part of Black Wall Street here in Durham. But it always started with finances and insurance. I'm saying all that because it sparked me to start my own company. Once I started to learn the basics, I was fortunate to be taught by a gentleman when I started Mass Mutual. He used to be part of the Black Panthers organization in Winston, and great guy, mentor, used to teach me a lot about finances after hours, and which sparked something else in me to learn more and to be able to provide this to the community. So a lot of folks that I did interact with, whether it was in the federal market or in the community, I would always give a basic foundation of financial empowerment or literacy, because it was important to me that people understood what I was talking about. As a professional athlete at the time that I had started, I began in '99 and started on my trek as a professional athlete. There weren't a lot of people to, take you in by the hand and show you what you should do with your money. And the times that I would try to get that information, I was just told, hey, don't worry about that. You can make the money and we'll take care of it. And things happen that way, right? When you put a lot of trust in people you don't really know. But, and so it was just important to me for breaking these things down for people so that whenever I did talk to them, it wasn't what I was telling them to do. We can actually have a conversation and they have an understanding of the basics. And now we can talk about what you could do to help achieve your goal. So that's what sparked me to start A Better Life Financial Group, which the slogan is, when's the best time to start a better life? It's right now. Whether it's 1% better, 2%, 50% better, we're always trying to progress, right? It's not the best, right? It's not the perfect, but we want to strive to always get better. And so whenever you persevere, you can obtain and achieve the goals that you set out. But it's important to write them down, but not only write them down, mark off the steps that's going to get you there. And that's what's important. Maintain your grades. It's always important. But I just always thought, and it was always brought to my attention, that no one ever achieves their goals because they just don't have a realistic timeline. How am I time-wise?
Oh,
good.
You good, bro. You good.
Okay.
Good. Yeah, about 15. Keep going.
But to get back to what I was saying, so with A Better Life Financial Group, able to get that going, and I have a lot of people that I reach now because of the pandemic, everything being virtual. A lot of people have referred me out to a lot of different states. So Ben mentioned a couple, but I have clients all the way in California, some of them in the entertainment industry, from San Francisco to LA to Texas to Florida, New York, Michigan, all across the country. And I'm able to bring on people aboard and work with them, show them how to sit down with clients and explain the same steps that I do to help people achieve the goals that they're trying to obtain. And one of the mottos that we have at A Better Life is that your goals become our goals. Once we take ownership and can help map out the direction that you're trying to go, then we all gain success in that manner. I'd like to open up the floor for any questions. Sure.
As you say, financial specialist, what is it particularly you focus on, and how is it relevant for young people as far as their future, as far as what they can do to prepare? All right. But more so because you have this title ATFA. So
yes.
So break down what that is and how that coincides, and then.
So financial services is such a broad industry. You got a lot of people in that space. They deal with stocks and bonds and those types of things. And that's all dealing with the accumulation phase, right? A lot of us that are not retired, we're looking at this accumulation phase. And eventually, everyone's got different goals on when they want to retire. But while you're climbing this mountain, whenever you decide to retire and stick that flag in and say, I'm retired, you got to know how to come down that other side of the mountain. And, no one wants to go hiking and hire a guide that can help you get up to the top of the mountain, but they're not sure how you're going to get back down, right? So there's a lot of financial tools out there that can get you where you want to go. But if you don't have the expertise or the knowledge, and somebody throws you these tools, how are you going to know how to propel down this mountain, right? Mm-hmm. So a lot of people focus on the accumulation phase, which is nice. I focus on some of that, but I'm not into the whole stocks and bonds. I'm on the other side. So I do a lot of, there are a lot of tools that people can use to develop tax-free income. There are a lot of tools.
Say that again. Say that again. What? Tax-free. Tax-free income.
Right.
That's big. All right, keep going, my brother.
Yeah, so there are some instruments out there that I show a lot of people, whether they have a lot of money or not, that are given interest about 12 to 15% is tax-free without restrictions. So there's some instruments that when you make a certain amount of money, they won't allow you to use these tax-free instruments, but there are some out there that doesn't matter how much money you make, you can still use these instruments. But tax-free income, how to reduce the taxable income, because when you do retire, it's not how much you make, it's actually how much you get to keep. And so I educate people on the taxes that actually they incur when they become a certain age. So a lot of people don't know, and I didn't know until I found it out myself, right? We only know what we know. That there are a lot of taxes that are put in place when people turn 65. And so they're not aware, and it affects their cost of Medicare, and it affects their Social Security. I've had a lot of people send me Social Security statements they don't even receive because the cost of Medicare or insurance in general. So I focus on tax-free tools, how to reduce taxable income, how you can, reducing that taxable income, you can actually double your retirement income. Some cases 30 to 50% more. And some people eliminate the taxes altogether. So I'm on that side. So a lot of folks that have a lot of accumulation, which is nice, and then they start running into these tax problems after 60 or 65, they look for people like me because with an ATFA designation, I'm an accredited trust fiduciary advisor. So we do a lot of things. I work with actually tax attorneys, help people with estate planning, help people with retirement strategy, because we want to get you out of those high tax brackets, and there's ways to do that. But you know, that designation helps me to do that. So,
So we try to make sure Uncle Sam doesn't enjoy the money more than you do.
right,
Amen.
right.
Think we got the.
Sure.
So I got about 4.
Uh-oh.
I'm asking.
Okay.
I'm willing to bet that there's not another financial discussion with African Americans going on in this movement, on social media or in person. I'm willing to bet it. And what I find with myself and others is that we don't discuss finances, bank accounts. We don't discuss stocks, bonds, insurance, what you specialize in. From your work, why are we so in the dark? Because everybody should have this on, from the young to the old, what you're talking about. Because this is not table conversation for us. Why don't we discuss it? Why don't we know it as a group that needs it more than anybody?
You know, that's a good question. I mean, I think, you know, a lot of this information, you know, you only know what you know, right? And so even if I go back to myself, when I played professional basketball, I only had people in a circle that I would talk to about my finances. And, you know, that was, you know, people in our family, right? Or friends. And I never forget, I called somebody from Spain, and I was like, hey man, I'm trying to find something to do with this money. You know, the first thing they told me, so-and-so say you this Corvette for X amount of dollars. And that was somebody that I trusted. And so I had to look at the phone. I'm just like, man, these knees not gonna keep playing forever, right? I'm trying to, and they kept talking about the material things that I could buy, and I had to hang up the phone. So, you know, I think, and it, you know, from my perspective, this is some stuff I talk about on the side, but from my perspective, I mean, a lot of things that we used to do, you know, those things were taken, right? We couldn't get the education, we get it now, right? Couldn't get the jobs, a lot of us get it now. And I think part of that financial information was something that we used to have, right? But, you know, all of that was taken. You know, once integration happened, a lot of big companies came and took these agents out of who were successful, and that was taken out of the community. So that wasn't a conversation that was had a lot in the late 70s and 80s. And, you know, that's just me talking, right? So, and I think now with social media, a lot of people are talking about that. I go on social media now, there's people talking about trust. Not certified to talk about trust, but hey, everybody's talking about trust and the things that you can do. And a lot of people are excited because they're like, they never heard that, right? And you look at a lot of people nowadays, like Chadwick Boseman, very successful actor that passed. He didn't have a trust. People are talking about it because all of these assets go through probate. And if it goes through probate, it can cost a person about 40%. Prince didn't have a trust. You know, a lot of people think it's good to have a will, which it is, but it doesn't keep you out of probate. And so I think a lot of people are now talking about it now because people are starting to see the effects of why these things happen. And then people question, why do you have this in place? And it goes back to your question. Why aren't we talking about it? And it's a good thing that we're talking about it now.
Yeah.
So most of our families don't deal with things like this until grandmother dies.
Right.
And now we're fighting over that which we don't even know about.
Yeah.
So we're learning it at the time, you know, which is probably the worst time to learn it. So and even our athletes talk about. My question is, they're usually broke 5 years after they leave the NBA or the NFL.
Right.
Had you heard that, right? You knew that.
Right.
Wow, and we're in the home of North Carolina Mutual.
Yeah.
Right.
Life insurance, so they tried, but we didn't catch on. So do you go to schools? Will you go out to meet people where they are?
Yeah, I will actually. Right now, I'm in the works with one or two of the counties here in North Carolina to put something together. I actually had put together a financial program. So I actually have a program that I've written out for 2 years. So I'm actually in the works right now to implement that. I've got some materials that I'm putting together because just me personally, I just think that this information should be in the community. We should know more about that, and things go well, then I can. He's willing to refer me out to several different states. I've already had a talk with a couple other states, but yeah. So this is, I think it's something important that we should talk about. We should know before grandmother passed, or anybody for that case. But through those experiences though, right? You become aware, so you can actually make changes.
I got one thing, because I know we got time. Where we at? We got about 5 minutes. So, all right. Good stuff. Just from because that's big, because a lot of times, to the point of grandmother dies, or especially we talking retirement, as I get closer, in my physics now, I want to think about retirement. And then when I look at, what it is I'm going to receive, and look at that, as most people know, you end up what? You retire, but you end up having to go back to work, right? So it's key that these young folks get this conversation, so that that's their older self talking to the younger self now, saying, hey, you need to plan so that we're not stuck when we get older. But I'm gonna get off that stick. My last question though is entrepreneurially, how does it work? Because a lot of times we see the big name companies, but it's more of you kind of, and I know we're gonna get into branding later with Brother Graves, but working in this industry, what motivated you to say it's time to go out and start my company, my agency? Like, what brought you to that point with A Better Life Financial? Like, was it based on the needs, or is it, because we know in the industry you're basically working as your own boss, right?
Right.
But what brought about that need for A Better Life Financial?
Well, it's just something different from your mainstream companies, right? Your Mass Mutuals, your Northwestern Mutual, New York Life. They're providing tools for people to use in general, but for a better life, I wanted to start that because I actually wanted to have an impact on each person that I talk to give them a better life, right? If they gain knowledge of financial literacy or financial empowerment, and they started to learn this type of information, right? Knowledge is power once you apply it. But once you start to learn it and you begin to apply it, that moves you towards a better life. If you're set up a certain way, I got systems that's based off of academia and science that I can input numbers and it will show you different options of what you're doing now versus what you can implement that can help you get towards a better life. So everything that I was doing, as far as I was already educating people when I met them, and I had some colleagues they would come to me because our conference room at the time, it was all glass, so anybody could see what I was writing on the board. Like, man, you're giving away this information for free. And I looked at him, I said, man, this is information that we all need. I said, so, you know, it's not your client, but it's the person that it's my client. So I can do with with my client what I want. So if I want to try to empower them, and when we get to that discussion about how we're going to implement these goals, we can discuss how this works, and that'll give them more confidence in knowing how we're going to get there. Because a lot of people get certain things that's recommended, and after a couple of years, they don't even know what's going on with that. And if somebody else comes in and recommends something else that seems like a good idea, they'll drop what they were doing and just to move on to the next thing, which probably wasn't a good idea to start with. But to answer your question, I wanted to start the company A Better Life because I believed in that. That was something that was in my heart to do for not only for you, but for the next person or the next person, whoever I talk to. And so, you know, if their family sees that, the community sees that, then that's something that I can provide that's totally separate from a New York Life or Mass Mutual or whatever financial group, because I'm aspiring to give someone a better life than what they're doing right now. So that was the whole purpose of starting that.
Right. We got one more.
Yeah, couple more questions. So for the group that is watching, because our team is it consists of 14, 15-year-olds here and there, so they're young.
Sure.
This could sound like Chinese to them. So give a basic brief explanation on what's the importance of having basic fundamental understanding of how to manage your finances. Especially if you have kids who come with a socioeconomic background, but they all have the same financial goals, regardless of whether they come fluent or not. What's the importance of having this basic understanding of how to manage?
The basic understanding. So a lot of what I do also includes budgeting. So I do start off with that, and I break it down into a chart, and you have to know how to manage your own money, you know, each month, right? Because you have kids that will leave the home, they go off to college. And, you know, if they're working in college or not working in college, you know, even if you're an athlete, if they're getting a certain stipend, you got to know how to manage money. If you don't have the basic understanding of how to manage your own finances, then you're stuck in that generational curse, right? You didn't learn it at home, you're not learning it in school, and you're still continuing through life, not even understanding the basics. So it's important to get the understanding the basics, how to budget, how to manage your money, what should be paid, you know, what's needed to be paid versus a want. So I talk about needs and wants. Some people want to put wants over needs, and then they get into buying. So understanding the basics of finances, the basics of budgeting, and how to budget money, that's important. And so that's why, even for young folks, it's good to know it at a younger age, so you create a habit. And people create a habit after constantly doing something for 3 to 4 weeks. After 3 to 4 weeks, it becomes a habit, and that's how you create good financial habits, young and old.
Saying something about habits. People live in that do be rather skinny. Won't be skinny no more. So there you go with that. But real quick for the parents, at what age should they begin driving interest into their kids about financial goals?
As soon as possible. They should start at a young age.
9, 11, 13.
You could even start at 5, right? Or, you know, some people give allowances, and you can make it a weekly meeting, right? You know, if you're giving allowances every week, how are they spending it? And with the parents doing that, that actually helps keep them in habit, right? So when you start creating that and it becomes a habit in the child, then each time they get money, they actually have an understanding of what to do with it, how to put it in the bank account, and those types of things. I have a 19-year-old son and a 14-year-old daughter. They've had bank accounts, and how to understand and manage money, how to go to an ATM and those types of things. So, or how to deal with transactions in the bank. I don't know if they do that in the school now, but I know at one time they were trying to take cursive writing out, right?
Yeah.
People didn't know how to write checks. So, yeah, if you can start it at a young age and create a habit, I think that's helpful.
We got 60 seconds, so I gotta ask
Sure.
you a question first.
Uh-oh.
So, you get $300 Christmas, birthday, for the hand. That's some of the pair of dumps that you grow out of them for the year would be sufficient, or is there something else?
Invested in a pair of what?
Good question. Shoes.
Oh.
Hypothetically speaking. I don't know
Yeah.
that person.
Well, so, I mean, so, birthdays, a portion of that should be, set aside, but, another portion, get what you want, right? It's your birthday, you should always celebrate, I'm not one to say you need to be investing all of it. I mean, it's a birthday or Christmas gift, get what you want, but then, do put a portion of that aside.
Yeah. Well,
All right.
if there are no more questions, give brother another round of applause, my brother. And I'm gonna put it to you like this: this brother has such an impact on me in setting my future up and preparing stuff to put my family in a better position and everything. I ended up going to work with him. So I am also a part of the A Better Life financial team. And one of the goals and visions is to bring more of these conversations to young people, because the key is you don't want to start and work and do so much and put so much into something and then not be able to enjoy your life after that, or enjoy the work and the effort you put into stuff. So you want to have these conversations. And like I say, it has the fact that you're here, young folks online, young folks in the room, is the divinity of your older self telling you now, start preparing, because there's always something you can do, whether it's just learning how to save so that when you're ready to get out in the workforce or whatever, or you start your career, you have a nice foundation that you can start making moves and stuff to better your future and prepare for life after whatever you do, whether it be athletics, a specific career, or whatever. So thank you to Brother Harry Reeves again. All right. Up second, we were supposed to have Brother Malcolm Teasdale, but he's in Chicago right now, and they're having a lot of technical difficulties. So we're going to kind of switch things up, and we're going to bring our brother William McKee from McKee Mediation.
Intermission.
After we take a brief intermission. So just stay tuned, hold on, and then in about 5 minutes, we'll bring Brother Will McKee up to kind of speak about mediation and how it relates with the hip hop culture as we celebrate 50 years of hip hop. So we'll be back in a few minutes.
He's on.
Birch that was used to back in the day. It's like success looks this.
Still all good.
Does it need to go back to one? Okay. All right. So as we told you, Brother Malcolm Teaser has some technical difficulty due to weather up in Chicago. So to fill in, we got Brother William McKee, who actually was able to come down and share a workshop on conflict resolution. So we're going to kind of jump back into that and kind of pick up on that. And we're going to kind of talk about conflict resolution and hip hop culture, how it all intertwines. So this brother about to come up, Brother Will McKee, is the CEO and founder of McKee Mediation. He is a certified mediator with the state of North Carolina. But he's also an educator amongst many other things. So I'm gonna bring him forth right now to do what he do and talk about some conflict resolution and what we all love, hip hop.
Go ahead. Thank you, Ben. And it's an honor and a pleasure to be here in the great city of Durham, North Carolina this morning. I do want to extend a greeting for Brother Malcolm Teasdale, who could not be with us today. As Ben said, they are suffering some weather challenges up in the Detroit, Michigan area, which prevented him from doing this workshop. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a remix of a workshop that I was blessed to do with the Bull City Bruins organization, travel team, AAU travel team, and the I Am D.O.P.E organization here in Durham, North Carolina. I did a presentation a few weeks ago called Conflict Resolution. And one of their star players, Brother Robbie's here, he was there. And so this morning, we're kind of freestyling, filling in the space, but glad we're in the place. So what we're going to do, the way I'm going to approach this is we're going to look at conflict resolution as an imperishable skill, a skill that you have to navigate our streets, the workplace, your career. And by the look of CNN, MSNBC, and any major news outlet that you can see, our world really needs conflict resolution. We have war brewing in the Holy Land at this time. Palestine and Israel And we tell our gang, so-called gang population, young people in our schools, that they need to find a way to get along and make things work. And our nation states are not even doing that. So this is desperately needed right now. I pulled up, for example, in hip hop, this is the 50th year birthday of hip hop music. And I just Googled, Brother Harry, the number of rappers that have been killed, murdered. And this was just a wiki page, which we know is an open source medium, but it's accurate. And it went all the way back to Scott LaRock. For those of you that don't know DJs, you know Scott LaRock, Bobby? I'm sorry. You said no. You know DJ Scott LaRock. DJ Scott LaRock, for those who don't know, for our younger audience, is the co-founder of BDP, Boogie Down Productions, which consisted of Scott LaRock, D-Nice. I know my older heads in here. D-Nice saved us during the, oh my goodness, they got the PowerPoint. I got 2 hours to go there. I'm sorry, Kevin Graves, you're gonna have to wait. I know you're a superstar at all that. And you lecturing in Paris, France and all that, but I think I'm gonna have to do an hour and a half. Got my slides. So when I Google rapper murders, it went all the way back to Scott LaRock of Boogie Down Productions. KRS-One is a brilliant teacher. He's still on the scene, right? Legendary rapper. As I said, D-Nice, who performed for the First Lady, Michelle Obama, saved us online during the pandemic. You know him now with the nice brim that he wears. The point is, challenge me, has there ever been a music genre that has had the level of murders that rap music and hip hop has had? It's just an interesting Google that saddens me to my heart. So it's pretty evident and obvious that this subset of a community, not that it's all our fault, because we live often in conditions that create the perfect storm for murder. Murder was the case that they gave me, is what they said on the West Coast. Compton, Long Beach, Watts, South Central Los Angeles. Beautiful people out there, brilliant people out there. But the socioeconomic conditions of that community, along with the proliferation of guns, creates an impoverished environment. People are poor. As Ice-T said on YouTube the other day, when rappers come to Los Angeles, they have money. And the thousands of so-called gang members that are on the ground don't. And in our world, we are pushed to take material things when we don't have them. So I just want to go over a few conflict resolution principles that hopefully are applicable to your work career, your classroom, definitely applicable in hip hop and in urban America for sure. I do something called mediation. The group I have is McKee Mediation. It's called mediation. That word meta means to go beyond that second word. So mediation is the negotiation of two parties to get to a resolution. In mediation, they call that getting to yes. So Brother Harry just talked about insurance. Well, in vehicle insurance, for example, if you're in a car accident, your case may go to mediation. And for $300 an hour, that mediator will try to get the insurance company and the driver to a resolution or a settlement. Well, mediation is more personal. It says that you can't teach what you don't know, and you can't lead where you won't go. In other words, if it's not in you, you can't export it. You can't export what you don't have. I usually have a pitcher of water and I pour it into a glass and say, what's in this pitcher ends up being what's in that cup or what's in that glass. You got to have peace to give peace. So on a personal level, whether it be through prayer, whether it be through meditation, whether it be through improving your diet to calm your central nervous system, it takes a peaceful person to be a peacemaker. Like the good scripture says, and blessed are the peacemakers. We also have the saying from an ancient Chinese proverb that says, tell me and I'll forget, show me and I'll remember, involve me and I'll understand. We have to involve our world, our communities, our people in the projects of peace. We have a Department of Defense with the federal government. Why don't we have a Department of Peace? So if you look in the Israeli-Palestinian situation right now, some people are pulling for the Palestinians to come out on victorious. Some people are pulling for the Israelis. Who's pulling for peace? Blessed are the peacemakers. We look at transformation over transaction. When we're talking mediation, going through your own in work situations, on your job, or if you in education, transformation always trumps transaction. We live in a very transactional world right now. The world of barter, the world of mercantilism, the world of commerce. I pay you $10, you give me a $10 worth of a good. But we don't deal much in transformation. Transformation is the process whereby, you know, as Robbie does say, you say, I'm gonna sign with Stanford University, or I'm gonna sign with Howard University. Robbie's a very good excellent high school ball player in Durham, North Carolina right now. Any colleges out there, you'll get a scholar, a gentleman, and a great ball player if you sign it. But it's a difference between Robbie going to Stanford University out in the Redwood Forest of California. They played last night, so they're probably on my mind. The transaction is he goes there, signs a basketball scholarship, gets 4 years of education if he doesn't leave to the NBA early. I know the parents might not mind. Kevin Graves don't talk about that. But that's a transaction. A transformation is when something at Howard University happened to Robbie there in a pedagogical sense, meaning he didn't just go through the university went through him. So the moment he stepped foot there in Northeast DC, the spirit of Spotswood Robinson went through him. Those were some of the lawyers that were on Brown versus the Board of Education case that desegregated our nation's schools prior to 1965 in the mid 60s. We were in separate schools because of Thurgood Marshall, Spotswood Robinson, Charles Hamilton, Houston. We now have an integrated America, which gave this country, which was on a shaky foundation and a questionable mandate, the opportunity to be a great nation. So if Robbie goes to Howard and Howard goes through him, a transformation has happened. Then when he goes to the NBA or gets that nice corporate job or becomes an educator, he comes back to Howard and sows back into Howard students because he's been transformed. Wasn't just a transaction. These are prerequisites to good mediation. And we also want to practice that ancient Egyptian mantra of man, woman, know thyself. You got to know you. You got to love you before you can love somebody else. So let's go on to that next slide because I'm about to preach myself happy. Let's see, slide number 2 with the clock. I put this clock on the slide because the rapper Flavor Flav used to wear a big clock on his chest. You remember that, Harry? You probably had A Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back album on your dresser in your room. I know D did. He thought he was in Leaders of the New School, I'm told. Yeah, but he was down here with us. Big shout out to D. I had tool number 1, early intervention. It's best to address potential tensions as soon as they arise. So for a travel basketball team or any team or any couple, any relationship, any business partnership, mediation best practices would suggest you don't wait till that fire turns into a blaze. You look at tendencies and body language and comments of the family and say, hey, I feel something brewing in you. I was going to use the example of you guys with the Bull City Bruins of one teammate is shooting the ball every time they touch the ball. They don't even look to pass. Kind of like Ben when he's singing with a group. He don't even look to give anybody else the microphone. You know, you got that teammate that's just thinking, hey, I've got to shoot my way into a 4-year scholarship. And I'm not thinking about Robbie. When I see that creeping up, a good leader will step in with a mediation lens and say, as a team, we have to talk about this. As a couple, we have to talk about this. Baby, you ain't been home in 7 days. I ain't seen you. You know, I think something might be wrong. Yeah, there's something wrong. Oh, yes, boy. Oh, yeah. Next slide. Let me get off that. I get personal on that. I ain't seen you in 2 weeks. But they saw you at the club. Slide 2, participation. It's generally best to bring together all parties involved in any given dispute to have them learn to do the win-win waltz. The picture is Magic Johnson and Isaiah Thomas. Those brothers didn't speak for 20 years. Those brothers didn't speak for 20 plus years. And we do, this is a key mediation principle. We do more talking about each other behind the back of the person in organizations, the meeting after the meeting. I got a problem with Brother Harry, but I've never told Brother Harry. Somewhere in the scriptures it says if you have a problem with somebody, you address them. And a lot of the civil wars we face in families between nation states is the fact that the parties don't get together. In international diplomatic parlance, we call that the olive branch. The olive branch in the Middle East represented a plant of peace. To say, me and Brother D have been chippy with each other lately because he out-argued me on one of the shows about the New England Patriots. and my argument just wasn't strong enough. He just had the facts on his side. But instead of telling, man, I'm really upset at you whooping me like that, I just started acting funny. That little way about you, start acting salty. We don't want to do that in organizations. We want to say, Brother D, we need to talk. You're too good. Teach me to be better. Let's go to the next slide. And we're about done. So that next slide is dear to my heart. When I was young, me and my mama had beef. 17 years old, kicked out on the streets. See, back at the time, I thought I'd never see a face. Ain't a woman alive that could take my mama's place. Suspended from school. Those are the lyrics of Tupac Shakur, whose murder was just reopened. His murder case was just reopened last week. Speaking of those numerous hip hop murders, he talks about, I have a lecture that I do on elementary education and how it can destroy our youth, going back from Kwanzaa Kunjufu's book about the destruction of Black boys in school. He references elementary school. He said, who think in elementary, hey, I will see the penitentiary one day, the school, the prison, pipeline, talked about by that patron saint of the streets, Tupac Shakur. Then Biggie comes back in the preamble of his song, Juicy, where he starts the song off talking before he raps, where he says, this song is dedicated to the teacher that said I wouldn't amount to nothing. What teacher would go into that profession? But we know it's done all over the world. It's done all over the country. To that teacher who said I wouldn't amount to nothing, and to those people that called the police on me when I was just trying to make enough money to feed my daughter. It's all good, baby, baby. Tip 3, tools for resolving conflict. Identify with those who, even with guidance, cannot think in terms of the win-win. So if that teammate that wants to shoot all the time does not have if they're suffering from what we call cognitive dissonance, and they can only see their points leading to their college scholarship. Mediation principles suggest that a meeting of the team whereby we would educate that teammate, that studies show that if you're on a good team, your scholarship chances go up exponentially. Why? Because Duke University is not just looking for a good player, they're looking for winners. If you come from a losing team, your stock goes down, even if you're hitting 40 points a night. So that may be the win-win walks that we have to do with that teammate to say, hey, you may want to pass the ball because UCLA is looking at assists as well. If you're jacking the ball up every time you touch it and you're not making assists, then your stock goes down. The win-win walk suggests that if all 5 of us on the court touch the ball, all 5 of our opportunities go up. You thought you shooting every time was your ticket in. It's actually hurting you. There's a famous book in mediation it's out of Harvard University by Fry. It's called Getting to Yes. Every mediation conference, which is what they call a mediation meeting, it's called a conference. With the traffic accident all the way up to family court mediation. The book is called Getting to Yes. And you want to get both parties to yes. In a mediation conference, let's say this table is one side of the opponent, this table is the other side. I would do what they called in the Carter administration, President Carter, they termed the title shuttle diplomacy. I would go to this group and say, what's the 3 points you want? Leave this group and say, what's the 3 points you want? Then I'll get to yes on maybe 2 of those that we could all live with. And did I have a final slide there? Okay. Tip 4. Keep the problem the problem. We argue positions, not people. We argue positions, not people. So if I could transport myself back into time and have Death Row Records in a mediation session with Bad Boy Records, probably the first thing I'd do is show them that the media was profiting off of their disagreement. A couple magazines that I won't name because I don't need them trying to find me. I mean, not that they would, but that the media was profiting off of their inability to resolve that conflict. Then I would attempt to get the focus of the disagreement off of Bad Boy personally and off of Death Row personally. And say, well, what is the position that we're disagreeing about? Sometimes people don't even know. It's like the end of that movie Life. You remember at the end of the movie Life when Eddie Murphy's character is sitting there with Martin Lawrence and they say, we've been beefing all these years. What were we upset about again? They don't even remember. Sometimes it's just personal. And if we could get those 2 record labels to say, hey, the longer we're alive, the more shows we do, the more longevity we have in this industry, both of our financial lives improve exponentially. If we die in the hail of gunfire, then we both lose. Getting to yes through keeping the problem, not the person. So just to recap, conflict resolution is essential in the workplace, in your personal life, in our nation, and in our world. And I'll close just by saying we have a world right now where the tipping point or decisions are being made by gunfire. we will arrive at that beloved community place that Dr. King talked about if gunfire is replaced with what I call prophetic fire, where who we are as human beings and our humanity will prevail over conflict. And I appreciate these few minutes with you. And hopefully this provided something to your journey at becoming a better citizen, a better professional, and a better ball player. If you can embody these principles, I know coaches personally that would sign a player that's good in the clubhouse, that's good with teammates, that's a team player over 40-point score that's just disruptive. So prayerfully, this provides something that you can use. At that time, I'm gonna yield back to the officio.
Yeah, we're gonna do a brief intermission and then we're gonna move in.
You need me to
So,
do some more?
Kevin Ray.
Okay, let's go. Slide number 6. I'm sorry, D. I apologize.
No problem. We'll be right back with everybody. Stay tuned.
Got conflict out of the conflict resolution person.
they said in the 80s for welcome back, Carter, welcome back. We want to bring in the last speaker of the day. Good man, much like the other speakers we had today. Malcolm not showing that doesn't mean he's not a great man. Malcolm was a great speaker. All the speakers are invested in growing youth and opportunity and showing youth how to be able to stand on their own 2 feet and create opportunity. And this is one of the reasons why I wanted to bring him in, because he's shown that he can do that, much like the other speakers. Kevin is an advocate for service work in youth education. Page Pirates have completely run this building today, by the way. I just want to make sure I point that out. So we got a Page Pirate with I Am Dope, Page Pirate with K.A. Free, Page Pirate and Harry Reeves. We accept McKee as a deadly Panther, and we got an esteemed Page Pirate and Kevin Grace, but he is also a former UNCG student or alumni. So as we say at UNCG, the real blue and gold. But we'll leave that for another day. So he's a UNCG graduate. He's introduced into Kappa Alpha Psi. I'm probably saying that wrong. I'm not a Kappa, but he did cross some family of mine. So he's volunteered for the Fisher House Foundation while serving in the U.S. Air Force. 2009, he founded the esteemed Carolina Diamonds, which is an AAU basketball team aimed at providing education to underserved youth. He had 3 players go to the NBA from that organization. He's also played a significant role in establishing 4 scholarships at UNCG and almost singularly responsible for the Black homecoming at UNCG. He serves as a member of the Athletics Campaign Committee for Like the Way Initiative, and today primarily manages NBA players through his company, which is SWG Consulting. So I don't know how much more justice I could do it, but ladies and gentlemen, please give it up and your attention to our last speaker for the day, Mr. Kevin Grace.
How's everybody doing? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right. First of all, I would, like to say thank you. It's an honor to be able to speak to young people and speak life into young people, because all of us were sitting where you are once in our lives, and we were listening to people with experience, people who were bringing information and trying to solidify mentorship for us as we matriculated through life and tried to grow as humans. Just to give you a little bit about my background, when I was a student at Page High School, 15-year-old sophomore, I lost my mom to breast cancer, and life changed for me. So my dad was a train mechanic for Amtrak Norfolk Southern, and he had to work 3 or 4 jobs just to keep our 4 kids in the household going. When my mother passed, we had a 12th grader, a 10th grader, an 8th grader, and a 6th grader, with my father being a single parent. So I didn't have a lot of mentorship other than church of other people that could come in and teach me about life. As I started going after high school, got to college, college was a place where you start to see people who are administrators, professors, some of my older fraternity brothers. They were able to mentor me and help guide me to where I am today as a 52-year-old professional. The first thing I want to talk to you guys about when it comes to personal branding is a little awkward, because the main thing about your personal branding is not personal. It's group branding. Group branding is who you hang around, who you keep company with. If I have my own personal branding and I solidify it as a clean-cut guy, I'm not being ignorant, rude, disorderly to women, children, and elderly in public. I'm a person that always keeps my car clean. My driveway's always pressure washed. My lawn is always kept right. But everybody I hang around is rude and disruptive. They're dirty. They don't care about other people. They don't care what other people think about them. So they always say, never judge a book by its cover. I don't believe that statement. Every book shows you on the inside exactly what's on the outside. You're not going to read The Lion King and they put Aladdin on the front of the book. You're not going to read about Rumpelstiltskin and they put Humpty Dumpty on the front of the book. You're not going to read about Harry Potter and they put Star Trek or Star Wars on the front of the book. Whatever you see on the front of that book, physically, 99.9% of the time is what's in the book. So some of you young people have to realize, if you follow, I heard them talking about the rappers earlier. Let's think about the rappers in the gold teeth. If you want to be a systems engineer, if you want to be an accountant one day, my wife is a CPA. If you want to be a lawyer, if you want to be a doctor and work in the medical profession, you are what you look like. If you go through 8th grade, 9th grade, sophomore year of college, first year of graduate school, with tattoos on your hands, tattoos on your neck, gold teeth in your mouth, dreadlocks trying to look like Lil Wayne, you're not Lil Wayne. You're not a rapper. You're trying to be a professional. And if you're trying to be a professional, you have to understand one word: conformity. You have to conform. You have to dress the part. You have to smell the part. Some people, when I talk to young folks, smell the part. Yes, if you walk into a public sector business interview for human resources for a Fortune 400 company, and you have on so much cologne that you choke everyone in the lobby, you don't smell good to them, even though you thought when you left the house and sprayed all that Old Spice on your neck and your clothes, you smell good to yourself. Just because it's good for you doesn't mean it's good for the group when it comes to conformity. So what I told you, I mean that. Always judge the book by its cover. First impressions are everything. If I see you in Four Seasons Mall cursing loud, being disruptive, getting mad at a store clerk for no reason, being belligerent, and then 2 years later, I see you sitting in my office wanting a job from me. You never know when you create a memory, good or bad. I don't know if you created a memory in my brain that I never forgot your face because you were pleasant. I don't know if you created a memory in my brain because you did something so crazy that I can't get it out of my head or my sight. When you develop as a human being, we talk about middle school, high school, that brand that you're developing, don't do something that you have to recreate 10 years down the road. Don't be the person that's like, I don't need to learn to speak the Queen's English. I can speak Ebonics. I don't need to learn an email system. I can send attachments through email and speak like I'm talking to my friends on text. That is a huge problem, young people, in today's society. When we grew up, we had to learn how to diagram sentences, noun, pronoun, predicate, nominative. We had to learn, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, the FOIL method, algebraic equations, trigonometry, everything. We learned a structured system. Now, education is not teaching structured systems, and kids are using their own systems to think you can bring that stuff into a corporate business sector. I'm a huge professional. One of my pet peeves is young people texting me the way they would talk to their friends in the hood. And I'll be honest with you guys, I'm a 5149. You want to know what a 5149 is? I'm 51% intellectual and I'm 49% hood. I don't know when I'm going to bring out either one of them, but I know when I'm in front of people in a professional manner, I'm 100% intellectual. You have to learn to be a chameleon. You have to learn when to use each tactic to read a room, to read a community, and to read every infinity group that you involve yourself in, whether it's Kappa Alpha Psi, Alpha Kappa Alpha, if you're a Mason or a Shriner, if you're in your church, you have to know where you are and how to present yourself everywhere you go. To me, I say this, your network, starting in middle school, will become your net worth. Your network will become your net worth. I met people when I was 16 that I still communicate with now through sports. Ralph Sampson was one of the best college players to ever live. He was almost Victor Wembanyama before Wembanyama. He's 7'4¼ and had guard skills in the 80s. 3-time National Player of the Year. I met Ralph at a basketball camp. Till this day, I still talk to Ralph about business deals and was with him in Washington, D.C. 3 weeks ago. Kyrie Irving's father, Drederick Irving. Kyrie Irving's dad played at Boston University, left the school as their all-time leading scorer, went overseas to Australia where Kyrie and his sister Asia were born. That's why Kyrie has dual citizenship. And his father is best friends and grew up in the same building and housing project in the Mitchell housing projects in the Bronx as one of the greatest point guards to ever play in the NBA, Rod Strickland. An older gentleman named Tiny Archibald, Nate Tiny Archibald, grew up ahead of them in the Mitchell housing projects. Gary Howard, who was one of the greatest Black sports journalists ever, that gave Stephen A. Smith his first job with the Philadelphia Inquirer as a writer, no lie, grew up in the same Mitchell housing projects as Drederick Irving, Kyrie's dad, Rod Strickland, and Tiny Archibald. So think about full circle. If you're acting ignorant in front of Tiny Archibald, you have no idea that he knows Dred Irving and that Dred Irving is Kyrie's dad, and that he can talk to Gary Howard and Gary Howard can tell Stephen A. all about you because of your early ignorance. And now you're trying to get a job as a journalist with the Milwaukee Tribune, and you can't get a job because the word travels. It's only a few degrees of separation and the word travels. So the next thing I want to talk to you guys about is planning. You have to plan your life out, who you're going to be, where you're going to go. If you know you want to be a traveling nurse, you need to start studying botany, biology, chemistry, organic chemistry, anatomy, and physiology a lot harder in high school than the guys that are playing PlayStation. You have to know who you're going to be down the road. There's a saying called the 7 Ps. Prior proper planning prevent piss poor performance. There's a saying called the 12 Ps. Prior proper planning prevent piss poor performance, and piss poor performance promotes pain. We don't know how that pain is going to come later, physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, spiritually, or socially. We don't know how it's going to come, but if you don't properly plan, you're in trouble. And if you fail to plan in life, go ahead and plan to fail in your future. Let me tell you that again. If you fail to plan early, go ahead and plan to fail late, because you will fail and you will stumble until you understand that there are direct rules and indirect rules associated in our society to a level of success that some kids want, but they don't know how to obtain it because they cannot get out of the way of vices. What are vices? I smoke weed. What are vices? I drink all the time. And now, because I drink, I get a DUI. I got to pay for that for a long time. We have to understand vices are hanging out too late. A lot of bad stuff happens after 12 midnight at nightclubs. Just look at the news media. Think about the things that you're doing when you leave the house each day. Think about every day your personal brand is, if you get a DWI or a DUI, it affects the way people look at you. If you're high on your job, it affects the way people look at you. When I taught physiology in the U.S. Air Force for 8 years to pilots and air crew members. I couldn't come to work high. And the last thing I want to talk to you guys about is personal finance, because Gene talked about it earlier. Okay, your personal finances affect you because now if you get municipal jobs like working for a sanitation company, the police department, the clerk of court's office, they're actually going to run your credit report. So if you're that person that wants to be branded, don't brand yourself by always looking like you're rich and being poor. You would rather look like you're poor and be rich. Too many young people walking around with Gucci belts on with no money in their bank accounts or savings. Too many people walking around with Cartier shades on. You can't afford Cartier shades. And I'm gonna do this before I open up for questions. I look like Kevin Graves right now. I have on my glasses. I can't stand to see young people walking around at nighttime and inside during the nighttime with shades on indoors. Because when I see you, I'm like, he thinks he's cool, but we can't see his eyes. So he might be hot. So I go from Kevin Graves here. This is a different Kevin Graves. I might think this is cool, but I don't need to walk around like this at nighttime while it's dark, while I got shades on, walking around in buildings at games with shades on. All of this stuff is looked at by people that are older, and we evaluate these things. I talked about the Gucci belt that costs $900 when you could get you another belt at Belt and Leggett. We talk about Cartier glasses. I get these for free because I work in sports. These are $1,600. I don't pay $1,600. Here's a set of Ray-Bans that are $200. I didn't pay for these $200. I can go to Target if I can't afford it and I'm trying to climb in life. I can get me some shades for $12. Chad Ochocinco said it best, and then I'm gonna open it up for questions. He said, I buy cubic zirconias. I don't buy diamonds. Jewelry don't make me look good. I make jewelry look good. So just because I'm a professional athlete doesn't mean I need Gucci, doesn't mean I need Yves Saint Laurent, doesn't mean I need Cartier glasses, doesn't mean I need a Gucci belt and Gucci sneakers when I'm in high school and can't even afford to pay for my own stuff to the prom. You're buying a Gucci belt, but asking your mom to fund your prom date. Think about what we're doing, people. And before I open up for questions, wisdom tends to grow with one's own direct proportion to one's own awareness of one's own ignorance. When you come to see that you are not as wise today as you thought you were yesterday, then you're wiser today. I'm going to repeat that. Wisdom. The wisdom statement, wisdom tends to grow with one's own direct proportion to one's own awareness of one's own ignorance. When you come to see that you are not as wise today as you thought you were yesterday, then you're wiser today. And maturity is incisive judgment, emotional balance, moral and spiritual rectitude, and acceptance of reality. And we live in a society today where a lot of people can't accept reality. We got high school seniors averaging 7 points a game at a public school, and their moms are telling them they're Division I players. They're not Division I players. There's 44,000 seniors in America that start at every high school every 12 months trying to get 686 spots for Division I. 44,000 seniors just in America trying to get 686 spots every 12 months. Your branding won't get you there. Your talent and work ethic will, but your branding is what sustains you from middle school to high school to college and to the professional realm. And most people that know me know I've been the same guy since I was 16 years old. I'll open it up for questions now.
Thank you,
What's
brother. That
going
was
on?
powerful. Go ahead, Rick.
What's going on, Brother Graves? This is Ben, man. What's up?
What's up, Ben? How you doing, bro?
I'm good, brother. I'm good, man. I got a question because speaking with branding now and the state of the NIL, what advice could you give in that because we have young athletes who may be getting recruited and trying to figure out that narrative and understanding how that works along with making decisions. What advice would you give a young athlete being recruited as far as keeping their branding but not?
When you think about personal branding, Ben, and you think about an athlete trying to climb the financial ladder, they've manipulated most young athletes to think that everybody should get NIL money.
Mhm.
The kid that's a linebacker at Campbell University is not the linebacker at Notre Dame. The linebacker at Notre Dame outweighs him by 30 pounds. He bench presses him by, I don't know, 300 pounds. And he runs the 40 2 seconds faster than this guy. But the kid at Campbell's auntie and mom and father are telling him, you need to go try to get NIL if Radford don't give you more money than Campbell give you. Come on, man. What are we really doing here? This is what I'm telling every kid, and I hope it's some youngsters listening to this. You are going to get in life what you deserve. You will get in life exactly what you deserve. NIL should never sway you. If you happen to become a defensive back at Colorado with Deion Sanders, if you happen to become a defensive back at University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, if you're good enough, the NIL money's going to come. I have professional athletes in the world I'm in that are asking me why they're not getting the same level of endorsements as Bam Adebayo. I'm telling them Bam Adebayo is an Olympic gold medalist starting center in Tokyo, going back to Paris next summer, 2-time NBA All-Star. He's been to the finals 3 times, the Eastern Conference Finals 3 times in 4 years, been to the NBA Finals 2 times in 4 years. You're not Bam. You don't carry yourself like Bam. You got long dreadlocks with the side skin off. Bam's got a regular haircut. You got tattoos all around your neck and your hands. Bam has no visible tattoos on his body anywhere. You get in interviews and speak Ebonics and speak the hood language. I talked about the 5149. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. You know, man, when they threw me the ball, man, I didn't even know how they were throwing it over there like that, man. That was the coach's fault, man. Bam is in interviews. He's articulate. He never throws his teammates under the bus. It's all about his teammates and his coach first and him third. The things that you practice will get you what Bam has. NIL is nothing. The long-term money is what you're looking for. When Bam played at Kentucky, he got nothing from John Calipari. But Bam was so good at Kentucky, when he committed to go pro, he got $80,000 in 4 weeks doing autograph signings. See what I'm saying, Ben?
Yeah.
It's not about your NIL and what school you go to, because Dame Lillard, he went to Weber State in Ogden, Utah, and got nothing. But now Dame Lillard makes $60 million in 1 season and is doing Modelo commercials for beer.
Yeah.
He earned that. We got too many kids wanting it too early. We got kids wanting NIL for high school. I told a kid, and I won't say his name, Division I point guard that I know very well. I used to train him. I said, stop doing these local Bojangles biscuit commercials, because that's taking away your time. It's not giving you enough money, and you're not using enough time to do your schoolwork. Any more questions?
Go ahead.
How did you get into the NBA agency? Like, how did you become an NBA agent? And
I'm not, let me clarify for 1 second. I'm not an NBA agent. Agents negotiate contractual work. I'm an NBA full service manager. I handle players' lives. What I do, when a player gets drafted, I get him a 0% loan to go to the draft to take his family to the Grand Hyatt on 42nd Street. What I do, I get him tax prep, bill pay, luxury car purchasing, suit packages. What I do his real estate. All he does is the DocuSign. What I do all of his furniture for his house and his security system measures. What I do is I make sure that he has extended medical insurance coverage when his parents stop working. I handle a player's life, their entire life, from their investment advisory to their will and trust, to their limited liability corporation setup, to their 401k options and their pension plans for retirement, to them doing their foundation work and philanthropy in the community. That's what I do for a living. Agents just do contracts. To me, no disrespect to agents. Agents don't do anything.
Okay.
Agents don't make players. Players make agents. David Falk is nobody. Michael Jordan is the man. But David Falk will tell you he put Michael Jordan with Bugs Bunny in Space Jam. If that's the case, why didn't he put Pat Ewing with Bugs Bunny in Space Jam and make him the star? Don't believe the hype with agents. Agents now are getting 4% of general player contracts, and some of the players are making $50 million a year. If you see your client 2 times a year, do you think you should be getting 4% of 60 million? Probably not. I'm not huge on agents. You know who Tobias Harris is?
Yeah, I know who that is.
Tobias Harris's dad, Terrell Harris. First dad in the history of the NBA to do this. He walked into the Sixers front office. He told their general manager, we're not hiring an agent. I'm not giving somebody 4% when I know my son's talent level. You'll give my son what he earns based on his playing ability. So guess where the 4% for Tobias Harris's contract went? To his family. His dad walked in and said, you're going to pay him $170 million? Okay, he's worth it. He plays defense. He makes shots. He helps y'all get to the playoffs every year. And that's what happened. And if more families were smart enough, they wouldn't hire agents to get 4%.
That makes sense. So you're like a financial manager for these players.
I'm an everything manager.
Okay.
If you, let me explain this. If I get a client that calls me and he says he wants a Range Rover Westminster or an Autobiography 2023 with custom stitching in the seats and 2-tone interior, I can get the car in 1 day and have free shipping the lifetime of the vehicle. Aston Martin, Rolls Royce, Cullinan, you want a Nissan Altima for your little cousin. I can do furniture deals. I can do car deals. I know all the real estate brokers in every state where there's an NBA team. And I can get them free lifetime shipping of that car and Kentucky Derby tickets to the Phillies and Stallions party, the trifecta, and the Derby that day in the Turf Club. I've been doing this a long time.
Okay.
So I got a question for you, Kev. So there's a saying that I have, and just so people know, Kevin and I have not had all of these philosophical conversations yet. We've had a few, but not all of them. One of the sayings that I have for my organization, and I've taught my kids, is talent gets you only as far as character will sustain.
Right.
Could you talk a little bit more about what you did as an AAU coach and how you taught that to your group to help a lot of the guys from your group? And if you want to name them, you can.
Oh, okay, I will. I'll tell you. I will start by saying I was an anomaly and people did not like me. When I had Harry Giles, Hendon Hooker, Ty Graves, all these kids at 9 years old, I had a couple kids come to the tryout with cornrows. I'm old school because I was not trying to build athletes to play the game. I was trying to build athletes to play life. So when I told some of the 9-year-olds, don't come back until you cut your cornrows off, because I don't have time for kids who have time to sit and get their scalp greased for 4 hours on a Saturday. I don't have time for kids who care more about their hair than they do about camaraderie, teamwork, group cohesion, and making it one day. I will say this, the parents that I had, they listened, they cut all the kids' hair, and I used to tell them, when we go on the road, you can ask Harry Giles, Hendon Hooker, Bam Adebayo, Dennis Smith, Theo Pinson. You can ask Aaron Wiggins. Ask them all. You cannot bring PlayStation. You cannot bring an Xbox because we are going on a business trip. We are going to Pittsburgh to win Pit Jam Fest. We're going to Dallas, Texas to win the Dallas Shootout. We're going to Orlando to win the national championship. And because the kids saw me invest in them, I didn't just buy uniforms. I bought dress clothes. Every kid that played for me had this. We showed up at AAU Nationals for opening ceremonies. I told my kids, if you don't learn how to tie a bow tie, you can't play. You don't learn how to tie a Windsor knot and a standard knot and a necktie, you won't play. A lot of the parents thought I was half crazy back then, but now they think I'm a genius because some of the kids that wouldn't listen, that failed to be structured in my program, I don't want to even tell you what some of them are now. They left the team. They quit my team. They didn't want to play. I don't know why my son can't have his PlayStation in the room. He doesn't. Listen, man, there's 10 other AAU organizations in North Carolina. He can go play somewhere else. I don't need him. And no matter what, if a kid left my program, it's okay. Brandon Childress played for me for 2 years and didn't start. When I had 2 kids leave my organization, Brandon Childress became a starter and went on to Wake Forest University and scored 1,400 points and had 400 assists in the ACC. Brandon Childress is in Munich, Germany right now, left yesterday playing professional basketball. Randolph Childress, his dad is the greatest Wake Forest player probably ever, was a better player in college than Tim Duncan, and his dad let me coach his kid. He didn't call me, why Brandon got to wear his hair like this? Why Brandon can't bring his PlayStation to the hotel? Why Brandon can't have tattoos on his body and play for you? My parents let me be a man, let me coach my kids as men, and that's why all of my kids became successful. The kids that quit, and I'm not playing for Kevin Graves, I'm not doing that. They went on, and some of them are not as successful today. Does that help?
Yeah,
You got to learn to follow rules.
go ahead.
You got to learn to follow rules. You got to learn that the rules mean something. You got to learn that if a man is telling you, I'm paying money to buy all of y'all suits, I'm paying money. One thing I did with my diamonds, and I'll say this, I never let them stay in anything less than a 4-star hotel. I had to go back and forth with my wife with it for a while. Kevin, why do we have them in the Gaylord Hotel in DC? Kevin, why are you putting them in the Vdara Hotel in Vegas? Kevin, why are they staying in the Four Seasons in New York? I did that to teach them excellence. Now, Bam Adebayo said, Coach, you remember when we was 12 and you had us in the Gaylord? He was like, man, I had never seen nothing like that in my life. But now I stay in stuff like that every time I go on the road with the Miami Heat. I was training their minds for where they were going and where they were headed. So don't get mad at me because you can't bring your PlayStation when I got your son staying in the Four Seasons, the JW Marriott Marquis, the Vdara, and the Gaylord.
I think we had a question.
So as
I think we had a question.
yeah, we got a lot more in common than we've already established, brother. Trust me. When you said that, you should have seen what my wife's face looked like. When you said you went back and forth with your wife. So trust me, we got a lot more in common. Go ahead. Who got
No, I thought there was a question, but it was a
that
hand clap.
Yeah.
Oh, we got one more. We got another question. Hold on. No,
Okay.
hold on.
Okay.
Hold on. We got.
I can't hear him. Is he speaking up?
Oh, I'm about to speak. How do you feel about NBA players like Jordan Clarkson and Dennis Rodman and Montrezl Harrell who wear their hair and have like tattoos showing over their body, but they're able to like perform?
No. Performing and maximizing monetary gains is two different things. Performing and just playing for a team is one thing. Montrezl Harrell, I don't care if he wears his hair long. He wasn't one of my AAU kids. He grew up in Tarboro, North Carolina. I love Montrezl's game and I love how hard he plays. But check this out. He will never get the Jordan brand deal that Bam has. He will never get the PSB underwear deal that Bam has. He will never get the Flow Water deal that Bam has. He will never get the JBL headphones deal that Bam has. You see where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can have your player contract, but this is a once in a lifetime opportunity to maximize Bam making 32 million this year. Why can't he make another million off the court? Bam's going to have children one day, hopefully. Don't you want to maximize that extra 2.3 million a year for your children's future? So you can put that in some Roth IRAs, some fixed annuities, some bond evaluations, so your kids can take that 8 million and 32 years from now, your daughter says, Daddy, that 8 million that you put away for me in 2023, now it's 2056. My goodness, Daddy, I didn't know it was going to be 13, 14. No, now it's 52 million, depending on how it was invested.
Mm.
Using the extra, Bam has an unbelievable real estate portfolio that I have him in. What if he's not getting the extra? How does he build the real estate portfolio, the fixed annuities, and the life insurance initiatives? He needs the money to pay those premiums every 12 months, right? I'm not in Montrez's business. I'm not in Jordan Clarkson's business, but I can honestly tell you, Allen Iverson was one of the greatest players to ever play. Should have got Jordan level endorsement. Did he? Did he?
No, not
Did
yet.
he ever get any commercials? Do you know any major commercials that Allen Iverson was ever on? Did you ever see him on a Modelo beer commercial like Dame Lillard? No. Did you ever see him on a State Farm commercial like Chris Paul and Steph Curry? No. No, 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 no. And did you know that when he left the NBA, he was broke?
Mm-mm.
One of the greatest players ever, flat broke. With
Wow.
5 children and a divorce. His children were still young, so what happened, they actually, through his divorce decree, let his wife get half of money that was in escrow from a Reebok deal that somebody did without telling him. He can't touch the rest of the money until he's 55, but they gave his wife half of it because she's sitting there with 5 young children and no income. With an iconic husband who had braids, tattoos everywhere. They say he would go to cities with his entourage, buy out the mall, and leave the clothes in the hotel.
And not to dump on him, but he did.
Excuse me?
Said not to dump on him, but he did get us in trouble being around the wrong crowd of folk.
He
Right.
kept the wrong people around him. No, let me ask you this, young fella. Have you ever Googled Bam Adebayo or Aaron Wiggins and seen anything negative?
No.
Google Bam anytime you want. Have you ever seen any pictures of him in a club with 25 guys around him with a VIP rope popping bottles?
I don't think so.
You ever seen him on Snapchat cursing in public, talking crazy, talking loud?
Mm-mm.
But look at Ja Morant. That's all I'm gonna say. Look at what you're asking me and look at the guys who look like that. How many clean-cut guys have you ever seen do what Ja did? Name one. Name a Tim Duncan or a Steph Curry or a Ray Allen that you saw out here doing what Ja did, waving guns, acting like he a rapper, in the club, popping bottles, throwing champagne on people. Kevin Porter Jr., did you just see that one?
Yeah. What about James Harden? He does that.
Yeah, but is James Harden one of those people who maximized what I just told you?
No.
If James Harden was the scoring champion and scored more points in certain seasons than anyone in the NBA, shouldn't he have high-level Chris Paul endorsements?
Yeah.
Why doesn't he? I'll tell you why. Because the endorsers are scared of his cornrows and his crazy beard with corn in the beard from eating. That's why. They don't want to see that stuff. They want professionalism.
I understand. So you're saying Melo Ball and Brandon Ingram aren't as marketable as Bam Adebayo?
Never. Never will be.
Okay, that makes sense.
Now, a person like LaMelo Ball, they love him because they can sell the jerseys to the kids and the bobbleheads. So a company like Puma, they'll come in and do a shoe for him because they're going to capitalize on a player like that.
Okay. All right.
But he'll never get the multiple layered endorsements that these other guys get. He'll never leave his career and get $50,000 of speaking engagement to do TED Talks and stuff like that. Does that make sense?
We got one more question. Yeah.
Hi, Kevin. This is Sharifa. I have a question about mentorship for the leaders and the coaches that are out here. Is there a way to connect with you and to get some of your wisdom?
Oh, sure.
How would they do that? Like, you're one person, you're super busy. But how are some of the other coaches that are coaching like AAU teams, things of that nature, get some of your philosophies and start doing that with their teams?
Sharifa, you've known me since college. I'm an open book. I am in Montgomery, Alabama, in a hotel suite, about to go to Tuskegee University homecoming in 2 hours because it's the 75th anniversary of our Kappa chapter down here. And when D told me it was something that could affect the youth and help transform youth and let me talk to the youth, I'm not wearing this suit to the tailgate, but I put this suit on so that kids can see professionalism never stops. High levels of professionalism never stop. You don't need to have custom suits like me. I didn't get custom suits until I was over 45 years old and I had discretionary income. Before then, it was Men's Warehouse for me. It was S&K. It was K&G. I was getting the 3 suits for $300 sale. Just like Chad Ochocinco, suits don't make me look good. I make suits look good.
Right.
So for me, I am willing to talk to people who are willing to reach out to me. Just like I'm willing to do this on Zoom, I'm willing to talk to coaches. I've talked to hundreds of coaches over the years. Some were receptive. Some were like, man, I can't make my kids cut their hair. Well, you never gonna be the #1 AAU team for 3 years in a row like I was. When I started my AAU organization, nobody knew Bam Adebayo. He was a 12-year-old that could not catch. He was a 6'7", 13-year-old that literally could not catch the ball. Everybody was talking about 7th Woods, Quay Parker. Nobody talked about Dennis Smith. They invited 7th Woods out to Colorado Springs to the USA Under-15 national team. I begged the coach to invite Dennis Smith out, wouldn't even invite him. So part of the lesson that I would tell coaches is I never had a starting lineup for the Carolina Diamonds because I didn't know Jeremy Harris was going to go to Buffalo and take University of Buffalo to the first ever second-round NCAA tournament game in history and got that new coach the job at Alabama right now. He got that job because of Jeremy Harris, a Greensboro kid. I didn't know Zoe Tyson would go to Fort Collins, Colorado and play for Colorado State. I didn't know Dennis Smith Jr., when he was 14, would end up being the player of the year, the freshman of the year in the ACC. See, in life, you treat them all the same. And part of these coaches' problems is they try to create superstars at a 12 and 13-year-old level. No such thing. Nobody's a superstar at 16.
Right.
Everybody should have the opportunity to start. Everybody should have the opportunity to humble themselves like Dennis Smith did with me on certain days and come off the bench. Certain days, Khalil Sykes came off the bench. Certain days, my own son, Ty Graves, never played favorites with him. I was playing Bruce Brown, who just won the NBA championship with the Denver Nuggets, Terrence Mann, who plays for the Clippers, and Christian Wilkins, who plays for the Miami Dolphins now. I was playing them in Orlando, Florida, in a semifinal national championship game against the BABC Bengals. And I kicked my own son off my bench. I told him, go sit in the stands. You don't want to defend and you want to talk back? Go get off my bench. No favorites. And a lot of these coaches get caught up into these sneaker deals with Under Armour and, hey man, we'll give you EYBL money, but you gotta play Ty over 7. We'll give you some Under Armour money, but you gotta make sure Bam get 18 shots tomorrow. See, I never compromised. So a lot of the coaches that call me, they might not hear what I'm gonna say. Because Ben and Gene and D, all of y'all that know who I am, no filter. To the grave.
He ain't lying either.
Hold on, one more, Kev. Hold on.
No, I do want to, Kev, I do want to say something because you spoke on it, man. When I did call you, I want everybody to know I didn't have to ask him twice. So if again, it wasn't because of background or anything. It's because we are aligned in philosophy. He knew that. He saw somebody reach for help. He said, sure. I didn't have to ask him twice. So if you ever ask yourself, Kev, why I've been so appreciative, that's why. Because I know you're busy.
No,
And I ain't have to ask you twice. So thank
I'm
you.
never too busy to help people. Ever. I will. I just won't. I won't be. Ever. In my whole life. And for some of you out there that don't know me, I travel 190 days a year. On an airplane, 190 days a year out of 365. And I'm never too busy because of technology, because I can reach you guys here. People can call me on my cell phones and we can talk, we can dialogue, we can help people move forward.
Hey, Kev,
Yes, sir.
This is, look, a lot of folks wonder who is Gene. So,
oh, I'm sorry, Jay. Hey, that's the nickname from the hood, man.
Yeah. You represent before, but yeah, that's all good. Yeah. So you made a lot of good points. I never got a chance to see you coach. I actually coach the same way. Cause I had the same problem with my son. But anyway, we'll go down that road. But you know, it's you mentioned
we all have had that stuff when I was
you mentioned it earlier, and there's two pains in life, right? It's the pain of daily discipline or the pain of final regret. And when you choose the pain of daily discipline, right? You got to make sacrifices.
No doubt.
And when you make sacrifices and you make that a habit to focus on what you want to do, then things get accomplished, right? You accomplish these goals.
True.
And when you talked about your journey and what you were doing with the kids and what you're doing now, what made you make the transition from where you were with coaching to refocus to be the NBA manager that you are now?
Well, I'll say this. When I got out of the U.S. military, this is how the managerial thing happened for me. A lot of people thought I got lucky because when I got out of the military, had a fraternity brother named Mike Rowan. He was doing what I do in football with the NFL guys. He was with Pro Sports Financial with Jeff Rubin and those guys. And when he left them, he branched off, started his own company called Capital Management Group. He was looking for somebody to start a basketball division. And he was like, who in the world knows everything about basketball? Me and Mike, we literally played like youth travel ball together at the Central Y downtown Greensboro when we were 9 years old. William Turner, who owns Boss Hogg's restaurant, Sean Brown, who was a running back at Grimsley, Ethan Albright, who went on to play in the NFL, we all played youth basketball together. So he calls me and he's like, listen, I want somebody to run a basketball division. You're the only basketball expert I know. Literally hired me with no resume, no cover letter, no interview. This is a true story. I was coaching varsity girls basketball at Greensboro Day, and I was a PE teacher that year at Greensboro Day, 5th through 8th grade. I leave, I start doing this work, and as I studied the industry while I was in it and started making some good money, I said to myself, okay, Kevin, are you going to take your money and buy material things, buy a bunch of cars and do stuff, jewelry and watches? Never owned a Rolex. The only watch I've ever owned in my life is a Tissot that Bam got from the NBA as a rookie that he gave me. I don't believe in jewelry, don't believe in just out going crazy with money. So I took my money and started my own AAU team with my own money. After we started winning, now Kyrie Irving, who I was affiliated with at the time, and his father Dredd sponsored my diamonds as a ghost sponsor and nobody ever knew it. Kyrie put my team on his Nike allotment. My kids were getting the EYBL KDs before the EYBL teams were. And I never talked about it. Because sometimes in life, you got to move in silence. But my point that I'm making and how I got into the managerial side, and it wasn't luck. When I was in the U.S. Air Force, I got 30 days of leave every year. Most of the people in the Air Force with me, they traveling to the islands, going on cruises, having fun with their 30 days of leave. Guess what I did with my 30 days of leave? I came home, worked Fred Whitfield and Michael Jordan AU camp, came home, worked Gennaro Pargo camp in Little Rock, Arkansas with him and Joe Johnson, came home, Fayetteville, Arkansas with them as well, came home, go to work Mike Finley and Jawan Howard camp at Moody Bible College in Chicago. See, my network became my net worth. Because when it was time for me to manage, it was easy for me to go see Danny Green. It was easy for me to see Ty Lawson. It was easy for me to go see Greg, Eric Maynard's father, George. It wasn't hard because I had created a network over years of using 30 days of leave to go work camps all over the country. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir.
I know you gotta go, but I just want one more thing for the young phenom in here. Because I know this because we used to talk, but one thing with sacrifice and work ethic, you talked about what you do now. Can you just give some insight to the type of work ethic these individuals had as young players, which obviously translated to the next level?
I would say most of the kids I had, they didn't do anything fun. They weren't hanging out at the GYC Carnival. They wasn't going to Carowinds every chance they got. They weren't hanging out. I mean, even some of this is going to sound drastic. They weren't going to proms and twerk dances. They were in the gym. They knew I gave them those numbers early. I told them, all of you guys are going to, I gave them SAT prep, of course, and did the academic side. And I did creative writing skills workshops in the hotel. They had to write research papers. Bam Adebayo actually talked about it in an interview. He said, when I was 13, my coach made me write a paper on the difference between Karl Malone and Akeem Olajuwon and their size and how their games differ. And when he gave me the paper, I took a red pen, scratched it up. There's 2 run-on sentences. You didn't use punctuation right there. Like, I made these kids work. You're not playing video games all day. And I also told them it's 2 types of people in the world. It's people that want to play video games, and it's people that want to be on a video game and be themselves. If you do what I tell you, you'll be on the NCAA game your first year in college. And every one of them did it. I had 12 Division I players on that team. 12. So my thing is your discipline and how you get up every day and just work. If you get up every day, you spend 10 minutes on Facebook. You get up every day, you spend 20 minutes on Snapchat. You get up every day, you spend 5 minutes on Twitter. You get on every day, you spend 2 hours on TikTok. Man, you just mess your whole day up. And if you got cornrows in your head and your little twisty ties, now your mama got to take you to the beauty salon like a female and get your scalp greased for 3-4 hours and your hair blown out and dried and washed. Grinders don't do that. Bam Adebayo has the same haircut that he's had since he was 12. Think about that. No wasted time. Bam works out 4 times a day in the off season. Some of you ain't even millionaires and you don't work out once a week. And you think you're going to be a ball player? I'm in Anaheim, California 2 years ago at the NBA Awards. Listen to this. NBA MVP, Giannis Antetokounmpo from Greece. NBA Rookie of the Year, Luka Doncic from Slovenia. NBA Defensive Player of the Year, Rudy Gobert from France. NBA Most Improved Player, Pascal Siakam from Africa. They're coming to take your heart, your job, and your money. We just went to the FIBA World Games and finished 4th. The USA is not on top anymore. The other countries have caught up. Steph Curry played at Davidson with 6 foreigners. They had never come. The white guy that was the shooter that played with Steph was from Lithuania. The 2 dark-skinned power forwards that played with Steph when they went to the Elite Eight, one was from, I think, the Ivory Coast. The other one was from France. They coming to take what y'all want. So play all the video games you want. Get your hair twisty tied up. Go shopping for stuff you can't afford. And somebody's coming over here from Greece, from France, from Slovenia, from Yugoslavia, from Berlin to take your job and take your heart and take your money. No filter.
Yeah. Thank you again, man. I cannot appreciate this more. We can talk to you all day, brother, but then I feel like I'm gonna have to shoot you a check in a minute.
No. Everything, no. Everything with me is always, that's another thing about me. When Sharifa asked me that question, I trained over 70 kids in North Carolina, Sharifa, that went Division I. 70. Never charged any of them a dime. I don't believe in it. Somebody taught stuff to me for free. I believe you give information for free so you can develop your communities. I also want to close by saying this, D. A lot of people with social media are caught up into college offers. Oh man, I got to put it on my Instagram that I got 15 offers. You can only get one school to go to. Damian Lillard had one college offer as a sophomore. His dad tried to send him to private school because Jason Kidd had attended a private school and his dad thought it was the best thing. Dame gets to the private school, the coach don't even play him. This is a true story. Dame's dad is like, he's been at this school for 2 years, freshman, sophomore, doesn't play. I'm gonna send him back to public school. Sent him to Oakland High. That's the name of the school. He goes to Oakland High, tears his ACL as a junior, comes back as a senior and becomes the Dame Lillard we all know. The only school that had offered him before all of this happened was Weber State University in Ogden, Utah. After he starts killing as a senior, all of the Arizona States and the UCLAs and the Stanfords, we want him because we're major D1 and Weber State is just some regular school in Utah. His dad sat Dame down and said, son, this goes back to that NIL stuff and people thinking they great. If you're gonna be a pro, you could be a pro from Weber State. And I'm gonna send you there because they wanted you when nobody else did. Look at Dame now.
Brother, I'm glad you hear, because my son will tell you probably sound like me. Probably not on the hair. That's another conversation we'll pick up on later on. But I ain't that far. But he'll probably tell you everything else you said. And just tell him for the record, me and you have not talked about this, have we?
No, we haven't talked about anything.
We have not had a conversation about it. We just happen to be on the same page. And it's very similar because with the program we run here, we train kids. What do we charge, Stella? We don't charge anything. Do they have to be affiliated with the team to come get trained? They don't have to be affiliated with the team to come get trained. We do it. I don't even care. All I want to do is build confidence well enough for them to even try out for their high school team.
No doubt. You're just trying to help kids.
Exactly.
Right.
Nothing further than that, because I want to show them that somebody cares about them past basketball, past whatever other issues they may have. Somebody cares about them past that. So the rest of them, like, they need to hear stuff like this. So I'll make sure I don't mind go back and watch it if they didn't see it today. But
I hope they could learn something from it. And I hope they can understand that a lot of outside noise is not the right information.
Yeah.
I Some people ask me who's my best player I ever had. They think I'm gonna say Bam right off the rip. But I don't say Bam right off the rip. Bam has accomplished a lot, but Bam is 6'10" with a 41-inch vertical. So let's think about what God gave Bam. My
Right.
best player I would say I ever had was Junior Robinson. 5'5", 145-pound pro. He played in Finland last year. He's going back to Switzerland this year. Junior Robinson went to Mount St. Mary's University as a 5'5" guard out of Eastern Alamance High School, 145 pounds, and scored 1,800 points in Division I. He embarrassed Ohio State. He embarrassed Notre Dame. He came here to Wake Forest and had Madison Jones and Kobe Miller-McIntyre so scared to put the ball on the floor. He was like Muggsy Bogues on steroids out there, man. But he's 5'5" and unbelievably skilled, unbelievable three-point shooter. He went to the NBA Summer League and was on Trae Young's team and outplayed Trae Young the entire summer. But because he's 5'5" and the league is not looking at the Muggsies, the Spud Webbs and the Earl Boykins types anymore, the Nate Robinsons, he had to go overseas. And it's okay. He's not disgruntled because of it. But he went to the IMG Combine. Are you ready for this? At 5'5", 145 pounds, they do a professional shooting drill from 5 spots. You shoot threes. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 threes. He's the first player to ever go 25 for 25. He didn't miss a shot. You only as good as who you tell yourself you are. Eastern Michigan told me he wasn't good enough to play there. East Tennessee State said he'd never be a Division I player. VCU said he was too small. He didn't believe what other people told him. He believed in him, what he looked in the mirror and saw. And that's what you kids got to do. When you wake up every day, you got to have the type of confidence to know who you are. Look yourself in the mirror and say, I'm great.
Absolutely. Hey man, thank you again. We're gonna get things wrapped up. Kev is coming back. He'll be we got you December 2nd.
Yes, sir.
Shot with I Am Dope. So we'll see you again December 2nd. We want to thank McKee Mediation. Kenneth A. Free, Senior Leadership Academy and Clergy for Cures. Thank Harry Reeves from A Better Life Financial for coming through. Malcolm, we hope if you did get a chance to watch this, we hope the weather's getting better in Chicago, though it's October and probably not. So we'll see everybody. Kev, enjoy yourself at the homecoming this weekend, man.
Appreciate it.
We'll talk, we'll catch up. And for everybody who came on, you saw there's an exit survey in the chat. Please do the exit survey. We like to keep the data. Thank you all again and enjoy the rest of this rainy weekend if you're in North Carolina.
Take care, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.